All right, everyone. Welcome to the Victory Post podcast. And today we have a very good friend of mine, and also has been like my second family, John and Becky. And John is gonna, you know, walk us through his promoter. He's the promoter for the NANBF, so he's gonna walk us through the NANBF and why they became promoters for this federation. So, John, I want to thank you for accepting to come to my podcast, and also, let's make this fun. Okay, so John, could you please introduce yourself?
John Arnold. I've been promoting for the NANBF for almost 28 years. I am the vice president of the organization as well. My wife, Becky, she's the treasurer. Um, been through a lot, guys. Seriously, we've seen the advent of everything kind of start from just bodybuilding, and that was it, to now we have 8 different divisions. So, we the evolution has been crazy, honestly. It's been good though, gives people more opportunities. It's help people get to the stage that have maybe different body types, whatever. And it's been very, very good. And I think you were talking to me about let's go over kind of like our history, how we got here and whatnot.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so Becky and I both competed in the non-tested side for several years, 5 to 6 years, and I just ran across, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm a mid-packer. Didn't really want to go down the road with PEDs. And found basically a magazine on a rack where I was working, or downtown territory in Kansas City. And it was a natural bodybuilding magazine. Never seen one before. Believe it or not, we had paper back in those days. But so they always had a calendar of events, and I found a show in Des Moines, Iowa. Went up there, had a great time. I mean, I found my family essentially. More competitive. Like I said, a really, really good time. So I kind of started to do that. Well, back in those days, the it was the NANBA, and they were really, really, 7 or 8 years into it, and they had some struggles, and so they kind of disbanded for a good year, I believe. Anyway, so it was brought back by a guy named Scott Dickerson and a group of other people that kind of got in the mix and brought it back as the NANBF. So I actually competed in the NANBA originally, and like I said, they were gone for about a year, and so found out they came back, competed with them, several years later, and basically told Scott Dickerson he needs to put a show in Kansas City, and so he did. And I kind of helped a little bit, trying to help him get a venue, whatnot, down here, because I wanted it to happen. So after the show was over, actually, I won the original Southern States Classic. And then he told me, well, you conquered this, you need to put it on for me. The whole idea was I didn't want to have to travel, but so that's kind of how. So he convinced me, of course, and that was what coming on 28 years of promoting with the NABF.
Okay.
Yeah, and essentially what it comes down to is what I found was more of a fairness thing. I really didn't care about the fact that other people were doing anabolic steroids or PEDs. It was more about, I just wanted a place to compete that kind of fit what I wanted to do. And so in thinking about trying to put on a show, Scott wanted me to do this. It was more about, I understood that, look, I wanted to bring that same experience that I had to other competitors that really don't want to go down the PED road. That's really all it's about. It's all about trying to create this fair playing field for everyone and enjoy it. That's what it comes down to.
All right. Nice.
That's really why we got into it. Wasn't about making a bunch of money, believe me. I mean, there's not as much as you may think involved. You see all these people and the spectators and all these people out there, but there's a lot of overhead involved in it. And Kwaku's finding this out. This is first year show.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's like a year-round process of marketing and all the above. But again, it's got to be a passion. You got to have it in your heart. And Becky and I still really really love this thing. I mean, I'm doing a seminar here at noon, and try to help people with their posing. So there you go. I mean, it's
Okay.
all the little pieces and parts.
All right. So you did bring up an interesting conversation about posing. Um, how interesting or how important do you think posing is in the fitness world or in the bodybuilding world?
All right. Okay. Let's look at it from a standpoint of different sports. All right. Football. You practice. You work out the weights. You try to make yourself faster, better. You try to create a better craft all season. You're eating right. You're trying to gain muscles. Like I said, strength and all this. It's the same process for us. But the problem is if you can get as much muscle as you can, your strength level's way up, you look great. But if you don't hone the craft that you're actually going to go to a stage with, then basically you just kind of shoot yourself in the foot. I mean, it's so important to be able to, all that work you've done to bring to the stage to make it look right. And it's a lot more than what people think it is. As I always say, one of my favorite sayings is basically don't be a backstage winner, meaning that, you walk around not posing and, a judge like myself or other like, oh man, that guy looks great or that girl looks amazing, da da da. And then they get on stage and they don't pose well. And someone that maybe has a little lesser physique is prepared and looks great on stage, ends up beating them. And they're perplexed and their trainer's upset and there's no way this could happen. But it happens. It's from a judging standpoint, which Becky and I have, heck, we probably have 250 shows on our belt. You see this quite often, to be honest with you, and it really really it's upsetting for us as well because we know these people are better than they really look on stage, and trying to find that sweet spot and how you look. It's not cookie cutter. Everybody's got a little different physique, and you've got to get the right angles and whatnot. So the judges, like we always say, we can't judge what we can't see. So you've got to bring to us your best look, and that means all that work in the gym, all that dieting, the criteria, but you've got to be able to show the judges what it looks like in the best light for us to see it per criteria.
Okay.
That's really what it comes down to.
All right. All right. Thank you for that information. So for those watching, this very great information. Posing is, if not about 50% of what will make you win a show. I think John will agree with me that is almost 50 to 60%. So you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work as much as you put in the work in your nutrition and your workout. So it's almost in that line. So John, thanks for
Right.
sharing. So John, can you tell me what are some qualities that makes you a great promoter?
I'm just saying I'm just a grinder. It's kind of like people that were in sports young. I ran track and field, played football, got out of college. I love the weights. So I was kind of like the gym, musclehead, they called us back in the day. And actually in sports, the coaches felt like if, getting muscularity made you slower and it made you, muscle bound and you couldn't do your sport as well, like track and field. Well, I found out the opposite my junior year or whatever in college. But again, what it comes down to is, you got to be somewhat of if you want to call it a wildcat too, you've got to be able to look at things and say, how can I make that better? I mean, our shows got so big at one time that I actually had to like almost game plan looking at the time elements of how long it took for people to do a walk on stage to create more time for prejudging, which that's more important to us, and routines. And just walking out to the stage try to shorten that up, because surprisingly, when you have over 200 competitors and you've got 10 seconds you can, save on each one of those person, that comes out to quite a bit of time. It's even it comes down to this, guys, so details of handing out trophies. I'm watching shows and they have one guy out there and they're running back and forth and whatnot and grabbing a trophy, and second place, the guy runs back up. Instead of doing that, I started having like 2 or 3 people on the stage. So someone would be, the feeder, someone would stay in the edge, and that saved a lot of time. So it's just looking at all the fine details to make that show better and better. It's all about trying to make the shows the best we can for the competitor and create a great experience. I mean, everything from, the time you sign up with our federation, our shows or whatever, you're going to get proper information, all that above. And we try to get back to people as soon as we can. I mean, it's within hours normally.
Okay.
And that's so important. You got to run it like a business, but it also helps competitors. Because, I mean, let's face it, when you're training and you're busting your tail, it comes down to, like the last few weeks, and you want to enter the show, you want to have all those details ready to go. You don't want to be stressed at all. So that's our goal, is to try to do that. But again, it's more about, just like, okay, you all out here that are competing in shows and all that, you're trying to find that best workout, that best nutrition, that best trainer. So that's what we try to do. We try to find the best practices and make sure we're doing the best we can for you. And I'm going to tell you what, that comes down to drug testing. And that's one of the biggest things too. I think we're going to talk about that. I guess I probably started one of the questions here about drug testing. Mm-hmm. We'll go ahead and segue. You want to segue into that real quick?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I can tell you right now. We have weekly board meetings, and I'm going to say pretty much 50% of the time we're talking about our drug testing, especially when you get into the season. And one of the main things that we want to make sure we're doing is the best we can for our competitors, because, as I always say, it's more about trying to protect the investment that you put into this. I mean, time, and people spend a lot of money with trainers and all that. Well, if I don't do my job, I failed. And the drug testing is really, really important to us. It really is. So, just like anything else, you're going to have people slip through the cracks all the time. It happens. And they'll compete in one federation, go to the next one. Folks, I'm going to tell you right, what it comes down to. There's a lot of performance-enhancing drugs that can clear your system in 3 or 4 days. And they go to one show, they're doing them. They think, well, maybe NANBF, IPE is a little more strict. I'll clean myself up for a few weeks. And guess what? It doesn't show up. This happens. So what we're doing now, we're going to do a lot more out of season testing. So, if you're a spectator or whatever at one of our shows or even a seminar, we may have you drop urine, and that's the best way to do it. We've been talking to our labs. We've had this really good relationship with the labs a lot, because we've been doing it so long. And they just said, hey, the best way to do it is out of season. So we're really going to start stepping that up. Okay. Also, we're doing some improvements. And, of course, we're the one. Not every federation in polygraphs. And I encourage anyone listening to this, when you want to compete in a natural organization, you really want to look at every aspect of their procedures. And in my book, the more procedures, the better. Okay. I mean, seriously. Polygraph, look, we understand people can be coached around that and whatnot. And so what happens is this. We decided that we're going to start with, essentially, when you sit down, we're going to do an audio recording that you got to listen to right before you take your polygraph. And it goes over the list, kind of standard items and whatnot. So that way, it's like, okay, out of sight, out of mind, if you didn't look at the banned substance list. Well, that could help you get through that and beat it. So that's one of the things that we feel like is going to really improve what we're doing.
Okay.
And then on top of that, we're using Smyrtle Labs, which is IRMS technology. You guys can look it up, but it really breaks it down. A lot of urine tests just kind of shows you if you're just 6-to-1, and it doesn't really break it down to what it really is.
Okay.
But we go on to the next level. It's like $450. It's expensive to go IRMS. And I can tell you right now that if you hear people say, they use this particular lab and they're saying they're using all IRMS, there's no way they can afford that. So if someone goes hot in one area, we take that and move it on to the next level. And basically what it comes down to, it'll tell you if it's synthetic or it's your own, what it comes down to.
Okay.
And that really, really narrows it down, and it helps.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been working with Smyrtle for probably 4 years now on this. And I mean, not a lot of fanfare, but now you're hearing it a lot. And that's why I'm kind of telling you about it right now, pretty much. But yeah, it's very, very important for us to do the best we can for you guys.
Okay. So you did list some important information, such as you guys have new changes coming on in terms of drug testing and polygraph and all that. So that's very good. We really want to see that, the seasonal testing and all that stuff. So that's very good, and to come to your show and say, you know what, we want to drug test you. That's good. I think almost all the athletes that are natural would surely do that, So we really want to see that change instead of just testing during the show. So thank you for implementing that. Also, can you tell me, so you did say a lot of stuff. Can you just break this down within 1 or 2 sentences? Like, how does NANBF drug testing differ from the other federation? Can you just break it down very short and easy?
Right. Yeah. Well, essentially what it comes down to, we do polygraph. And I'm going to say there's maybe at most, and we all know there's a lot of federations out there on the natural side.
Yep.
I'm going to say there's less than a handful that actually do polygraph. In my book, it's like, how do you prove if someone's actually 7 years pre-show drug-free? Unless you do something like that. Urine, essentially, all you got to do is, like I said before, there are drugs that get out of your system in 2 to 3 days, and what it comes down to there is all you got to do is be clean that day of the show. Try to beat the test.
Okay.
So really, the combination of both in my book is the best. Okay. I mean, I think it's the most comprehensive. Let's put it that way.
So I'm sure some other people will ask this next question. You're talking about implementing polygraph in addition to drug testing. Okay, that's what NANBF does best. Okay, however, you also mentioned that people can be coached to pass the polygraph. Okay, so if that's the case, what makes our federation the best in approaching that?
Well, like I mentioned, was very simple. It's polygraph. We know that, like you said, you can get around that, and online you can figure this stuff out. I mean, there's all different ways. I mean, some people, this way. I get strapped up. I did 40 shows, and every time I would still get nervous for whatever reason. Polygraphers understand that, and they adjust their levels. I mean, I've been kind of in the process of it and talking to these guys, but at the same time, it's basically a really, really good deterrent. Okay, if you're a guy out there that's on that edge and you're playing around with this stuff, and are you gonna take that chance as far as that goes to be banned from the federation for if you get caught with us, it's 5 years now on the polygraph. But if you get past that and you go and taint somebody's show essentially because you took somebody's day away, their great day and their family and whatever day of winning a show away from you. Well, to me, that's and so we're going lifetime on that. I mean, you've got it's very deception, so much deception there.
Yeah.
So, like I said, what it comes down to is we're trying to make sure that the best practices are put in place to protect your investment. Okay. Period. And I think there are several organizations out there that really get it. We don't look right now. What's going on too is I can't tell you how many times I get phone calls from people that, well, I'm 40 plus, I'm on HRT, I'm got my hormone levels to normal. What's normal? We don't know. And they think it's unfair that we won't let them compete. Really? I'm sorry. I don't have a filter on this. I really, really don't. And what it comes down to, a lot of times I'll ask, have you ever competed before? And they'll say no. Or they did years and years ago. Well, why all of a sudden you feel like you want to do it now? Is it because you're doing HRT and you're getting gains and all that stuff? Well, I guess you got a point. So is it actually a natural situation with you? And they, oh, well, I guess that makes sense. And tell me, if you're 40 plus, 45, and someone next to you is doing HRT, they got an advantage, period, in the story.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is very great information for the drug testing aspect of NANBF. So thanks for sharing. We're going to continue. Let's talk more about core values. Can you tell me a little bit about NANBF core values?
Right. I mean, we started a core value system, and I'll be honest with you, one of our great partners out there, First Forum, whatnot, we saw they have their core value sets, and so we set out to kind of put together our own as well. I mean, it's really kind of it's kind of nice to see other organizations and companies and whatnot have a set core values. I mean, it's in print. So what we did, we kind of put together, like our mission statement essentially is create a fair playing field.
Yep.
Go above and beyond, always researching to get better. There's all these different values that we've kind of put in place, and essentially all our promoters live by that now. Okay. I mean, that's what we've kind of set out, and it goes in with our sanctioning packets and whatnot that you got as well. Yep. And so that's essentially what we've done. And what it does, it keeps everybody on the same page. I mean, in NANBF, we've got a lot of 10-year plus promoters, and we all know each other. We're a big family, and we pretty much know we can trust each other. Yep. But at the same time, we're growing as well. So we've got to make sure the new promoters understand our culture, and core values is the best way to put that in place.
Yep. All right. So with that core values in mind, that will really help you choose your ideal athlete customers, right? So
exactly.
And they also coming in to compete will know that, hey, this is what NANBF core values is. So if that doesn't align with my core values, then I shouldn't compete within the NANBF. But the thing is, NANBF is for everyone, as you said.
You're absolutely correct.
As long as you're willing to put in the work and lead by example, integrity in the form of honesty, that's 100%. You have to be honest, So with this, NANBF has provided a lot of idea athletes within its federation. So I want to thank you again for coming up with this, and And let me shout out to Lisa Gore for helping you come up with the core value. So she's done amazing
Absolutely.
for the
Right.
NANBF Federation. So thank you very much, Lisa, and keep up the great work. Okay.
Yeah, Lisa's become really a really great partner for all this
Yeah.
down here.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and you and I both. It's always good to have, you know, other people out there that are kind of analyzing what we're doing. And believe me, Waku, you know that she gets on you
Oh yeah.
and it says, look, let's craft it this way. And it's a marketing thing, and it really, really does help. I mean, look, I'm an athlete, bodybuilder first. I think you are too.
Yep.
In this process of learning marketing, it takes a while,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and people like, well, you guys put on great shows. I say, well, after 27 years, you think you try to get it right.
Yeah, marketing is not easy, but we are very fortunate to have a lot of great people with helping with the show. So that's
Well, that
amazing
kind
on
of
their
goes with the
part.
core. Kind of goes
Yeah.
with one of the core values is be truthful.
Yep. Be
I'm
truthful.
being
Yep.
I'm being very truthful right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. So my next question is, so for the new promoters coming in, right, such as myself, okay, how do you guys help with building our what do we call it? How do you guys help with building our sponsorship and partnership packages? How do we go by doing that?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's like, and you know this, what we do is not like, hey, here's the keys, see you later, do what you want. No, we mentor people. We
Yep.
try to bring them along, and we everything from helping you find venues and steering you in the right directions. Because the whole idea is, we want to make sure that we help you be successful. I mean, that's what it comes. Because I'm telling you what, that first show out, and you're right at that 30 competitor threshold, which is kind of common on a first year show. You're right there making it break it. And if you got people, well, we know Becky. I mean, she can squeeze blood out of a turnip. Uh, we just teach you how to watch your overhead versus whatever. So you come out of there not losing any money.
Yep.
The worst thing you can do is that. But then again, it's amazing how we'll have promoters that'll do that, but again, in their heart, they love it so much they'll fall on the sword, but we try to keep that from happening if we can. But like we say, we allow crossovers and whatnot, and you pay for extra. There's a lot of things like this that we analyze. Like I said, even from all the details of my show, we also look at what's going to be best for our new promoters and how to get them up to speed and make sure we're doing the right things for them. We just teach you every aspect, buying trophies, to t-shirts, to getting venues and setting up your polygraph exams and all the above. Am I right?
Yep, you do.
Yeah.
You do. And that's one nice thing about NANBF, they really help you achieve your goals, and in turn also help them achieve their goals. So that's why I really like NANBF, because everyone is willing to help you no matter what. So
well, and one of the things too I'm going to say real quick is, if you look at the numbers that come to our shows, per capita per contest, it's probably one of the highest out there in all the federations. So it's not about quantity, it's about quality with us. And by doing that, our retention rate of promoters is amazing. I mean, we very rarely lose anybody. And I think that's the reason why. And my wife Becky, I mean, she's such great at detail, and I'll tell you right now, the federation is in amazing hands right now. I mean, it is so more efficient than it's ever been, and that's great because right now it's a tough time. We all know things cost so much more money, so we got to really watch our P's and Q's, and we're actually in a really, really great financial position right now. I'll be honest with you, what it comes
Okay.
down to. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, that extends to teaching our new promoters the same thing.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah. So John, thanks for sharing that. So you were talking about contest prep and stuff. Can you tell me the difference between an amateur and a pro show?
sure. Well, of course, pro show, uh, our drug testing pretty much is a little bit, it's tighter. We pull urine. Well, we're going to start pulling urine the day of the show,
Okay.
just like we do on the amateur side.
Okay.
We were doing the evening, but we thought, well, we've had some people talk, well, diuretic thing, so we're gonna go day of the show,
Okay.
and probably pull more than just your top two, whatever, too. So that way, we're kind of covering our bases a little bit
Yeah.
better.
Yep. Yep.
Again, that's another thing I didn't kind of go over earlier, but we're actually like I say, we're always trying to improve that.
Okay.
Amateur side, pretty much the same thing we've been doing for years. Um, but as far as prepping for a show, one of the things I'll tell you right now, it comes down to a lot of pros come from out of state, so it's more about trying to understand, that travel aspect to get here, and I think it's a little tougher, stress part of it.
Yep.
I was just listening to Fat Muscle podcast the other day, and I think Fishing and him were talking about this as well, and the stress part of it.
Yep.
You got to learn how to manage that.
Yeah.
Amateurs normally, we do draw from 12 states or so on our Southern States show, 12 to 15. And so it's not near as bad, and usually more local too. So that's an aspect you don't have to worry about too much. But normally what it comes down to is how well the promoter communicates back.
Yep.
So you all understand, when we start, when you may be on the stage, all the above. Uh, Everything from, again, the polygraph scheduling to your tanning as well. We work really strong and tight with our tanning companies, and that's a reflection on us. Everything pre-show, all the way through the end of the show, even your after party, all the above, it's all a reflection on us.
Okay. So John, before I make you go, you do have a show coming on. Can you talk more about that show?
Yeah,
Um,
it's end of April, like, so we're getting close to that right now. Um, exactly. There you go. Thank you, Kwaku.
yep.
Natural Southern States Classic. That's our baby. That's our our 27th year doing this, and just really stoked. And it's always been one of the largest shows in the country in regards to the natural side, and just it's just been a staple. It really, really has. And that's the one that we've kind of pretty much, we're always kind of the first one out of the gate, one that we've brought in all our innovations. And at the end of the year we always have our national meetings, and Becky and I are kind of the guinea pigs, but it's always seemed to work out really well. And we like the challenge, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So, but it's a real, I think it's a really well run show. And I'm gonna tell you right now what it comes down to. And Kwaku's been part of our crew, and I'm telling you what, that is so important. You get people that just love the sport; they jump in and they're expediting. Kwaku is amazing at running the stage, along with Jennifer Counts and all these great people we've had over the years. It's amazing that it's almost like automatic. You walk in, everybody knows their job,
Yep.
and it just clicks, and that helps our timing. Again, it's all about making sure that everything's done correct on time for a great experience, and that's why this show is grew exponentially over the years. So
Yeah. 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 Thank you for sharing that. Again, everyone, the show coming on April 29th in St. Is it St. Louis or St. Charles? Where are you guys hosting the show?
the Gateway
Yeah.
in September. Yeah, that's like September, I think it's the 30th.
Also,
Right.
okay. So you guys have another show coming on
Right.
September 30th, the Gateway Naturals, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's traditionally right at the last weekend in September.
Okay.
Then, of course, in late October, we do our nationals and the IPE
And the
Pro
IPE was,
Worlds
right? Okay.
right
All
here
right.
in Kansas City.
All right. Nice. Nice. So, yeah. So, John, you guys have about 4 shows this year, right? The first one, the Natural Southern State, the Gateway, the Amateur, and the IPE was. So,
Yes, sir.
very, very great shows coming on. So, everyone watching, watch out for these shows. Okay. And as John said, I'm also a promoter. I'm a new promoter. So, my first show is going to be here in Tucson, Arizona. And I'm going to be hosting that November 11th. And so again, my first show, so it's gonna be very interesting. But yeah, I'm putting everything in it, and with the help of John and Becky and the NANBF Federation, I'm hoping this show goes as planned. So thank you very much, John, for choosing me to host this show over here in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, we'll be there probably, I'm assuming, and help out. And
Yeah,
just like anything else, it's again, it's a big family, and we want you to succeed. And I guarantee you, Mr. Kwaku, and knowing him and help actually kind of mentor him for what 2 or 3 years,
yeah, yep,
helping us at the show. You saw the backstage. You stayed at my home.
yep,
All the above, and learned all the probably some of the some nasty details you got to deal with sometimes
yeah,
as well.
yep, yep.
But it's really, really good that I'm gonna tell you what, I believe you're gonna be very, very successful out there in Arizona. So everybody out there, you need to go do this guy's show.
Yep, thank you, thank you. And so John, we almost out of time. But before you leave, can you give us 3 tips on how to become a great promoter, a great bodybuilder, and overall in life?
Again, no one owes you anything. You get out of school, high school, and it's like, oh, you're trying to make your way. Nobody owes anything. You have to do it. There's no such thing as build it and they'll come. You have to go out and you've got to create it yourself and work hard and grind. It's come down to. And if you got a passion for bodybuilding and whatever else you have a passion for, go for it. I mean, it's simple as that. Learn as much as you can. Be the best. I mean, it's what it comes down to.
All right. Yep. Thank you for the advice, John. For everyone watching, I want to thank you all for coming and listening to John talk more about NANBF and his show as well. And John, thank you for coming. So, yep, I will see you all later on Wednesday. So please keep watching my shows, and thank you again.
Well, thank you. This is great.
Yep.
Nice work, and you're being much of an asset for all of us out here.
Yep. Thank you.
Need more of this.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwaku.